question is, how does God change us? We've seen that God doesn't change us without our knowledge, without our effort. And today we want to say that God doesn't change anything in us without our joy. Now, by joy, I don't mean happiness or what we might think to be a continual, perpetual state of ease or of being carefree. No, by joy, we mean something different. We mean something like a deep, a quiet, a slow-moving river. The joy of the Lord is our strength. He is there. It is present within us, whatever season of change we're passing through. To be a disciple of Jesus, to follow him, is going to involve a personal cost. Jesus said it himself, if you're going to follow me, guess what? You're going to take up your cross. To take up your cross is also to lay down your life. That involves a deep personal cost. But I think that cost is understood from the inside of discipleship, not from the outside of discipleship. Jesus tells a parable in Matthew 13:44 that the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found, and then once he found it, he covered up, and then in his joy, he went and he sold his field. He sold all that he had for the sake of the treasure, right? It doesn't say that first he sold the field and then found the treasure. He found the treasure, and in his joy, then he went and he sold the field. That's what I mean by joy. That's the cost. We discover something in Jesus, a treasure, and out of that joy, we begin to take up our cross. We begin to lay down our lives. In marriage, if you're married, at the very beginning, when you're on the stage or you're in the church and you're making your vows, there is no way to understand from that point all that is involved, all that it will cost you to be married. And if they told us, listen, it's going to cost you this much, it's going to cost you everything, you either would not have believed them, or you and I would have said something like, well, that's not a problem. I love them so much, I'm willing to pay everything. But we don't know that to be true. Rather, it's once we're on the inside of marriage and we begin to discover the joy of being married and being committed to each other and serving each other, once we begin to discover that joy, then out of that joy, from the inside of that joy, we become willing to, if you will, sell all for the sake of the person. So it's the same thing with discipleship. On the inside, we begin to discover the joy, the treasure that is Jesus, and the life that is found in him that he gives to us. And out of that joy, from the inside, we begin to be willing to sell everything. This is why from the outside, people might look at us as disciples or as the church, and they might think, you're absolutely crazy to be living that way, to be doing those things. And they may be right. But the difference is that from the inside, we perceive things differently. We experience things differently than they do from the outside. And so the joy and the cost that we are called to, if you will, give up and to pay is better understood from the inside.